The Falcons of the Sky are considered as the first line of defense that maintains the safety of the skies and grounds of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia around the clock. For a trained and qualified pilot is considered as the strut and source of the Royal Saudi Air Force. After the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was united, its founding commander demonstrated his wisdom by ordering the formation of an air force that would become a part of the kingdom's armed forces. An envoy of the British Air Force headed by General Stint arrived in Jeddah on the 2nd of Muharram 1348, corresponding to the 19th of June 1929, where they had a mission of fixing two DH-9 aircrafts. On the 11th of Muharram 1348, corresponding to the 28th of June 1929, the Desert Falcon issued his command of adding 4 Wapiti aircrafts to the fleet. Seeing as how these aircrafts needed a base close to military operations and attributed supplies, the late King Abdulaziz, after a full land sweep, chose Davin as the first Royal Saudi Air Force base. As the base consists of a dirt runway and 2 mud buildings. The first acted as storage for spare parts and the other as the operations room. On the 29th of Rajab 1348, corresponding to the 30th of December 1929, this day witnessed the landing of the first 2 aircrafts on the base of Darin, announcing the first ever Arabian Air Force. After order was restored in the eastern and central regions, late King Abdulaziz ordered the force be moved to Jeddah, seeing as the attributed supply was located there. On the 11th of May 1930, permission was received for aircrafts to fly in Kuwaiti, Iraqi, and Jordanian skies, afterwards leading to the northern western border, then down to Jeddah. This flight path represents the cognitive dimensions that the late king acquired in understanding this weapon. And in the 19th of Rabi' al-Thani 1349, corresponding to the 12th of December 1930, the late king honored an air show in Taif which demonstrated 3 Wapiti aircrafts. The late king realized the strategic advantages of varying the source of this weapon, so on 1351 Hijri, corresponding to 1932 Gregorian, talks went underway with the Italians, who were willing to train 10 Saudi pilots in the Italian Air Force Academy, Caserta. The group was flown to Italy, where they began their training program on the 2nd of Dhul-Hijjah 1353, corresponding to the 7th of March 1935. After successfully completing their program, the group headed home and arrived in Saudi Arabia on the 13th of Muharram 1355, corresponding to the 4th of April 1936, where they had the honor of meeting the late King Abdulaziz, who greeted them, saying, "We welcome our falcons." Saudi-Italian relations through cooperation resulted in the purchase of modern Italian aircraft, which were of the Caproni models. The purchase comprised of 3 single-engine aircraft, Caproni 100s, and 3 three-engined aircraft, the Caproni 101s. On the 29th of Rabi' al-Awwal 1355, corresponding to the 18th of June 1936, a royal order was issued to establish the first Air Force Academy in the kingdom to train young Saudis to fly and maintain aircrafts. When it first opened, it accepted its first batch of students, 30, 6 to train as pilots and 24 to learn aircraft maintenance. British officers headed by Captain Morris took on the role of teaching and training the young Saudis under the supervision of Sheikh Fuad Hamza. On the month of Shawwal 1356, corresponding to December 1937, the Academy presented a breathtaking air show in the skies of Jeddah city, welcoming the late king's arrival to the city. The air show displayed 6 planes, 4 of which were flown by Saudis. 2 of them flew Caproni 100s, another flew a French-built Caproni Renault, while the 4th pilot displayed his aerobatics with the Italian-made 3-engine Caproni 101. That air show, till this day, is regarded as the material proof to the skill, confidence, and enthusiasm that our first Falcons enjoyed. And on the 11th of Muharram, 1358, corresponding to the 2nd of May, 1939, the founding commander issued his royal decree to handpick a group of efficient youths to go on a scholarship and train as pilots in the brotherly country of Egypt. After the Yalta Conference was held between the countries of alliance at the end of World War II, the meeting leaders realized the importance of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the urgency to learn and get to deeply know it and its leader, King Abdulaziz. Thus came the meeting between the late King Abdulaziz and the American President, Franklin Roosevelt, along with the British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, on Rabi' al-Awwal, 1364, corresponding to February 1945. This meeting gave the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia a boost in its role in international politics. The American President Roosevelt, after being impressed with the late King's personality, presented his gift, a Dakota DC-3 aircraft. The late King Abdulaziz preferred to share with his people the luxury of flight by ordering the establishment of the Saudi Arabian Airlines. By the end of World War II, after the stability of world conditions, the late King began the Saudi-American cooperation. Its first project is the building of a modern airbase in Tehran. The base was first inaugurated on the month of Jumad al-Awwal 1364, corresponding to May 1945, complete with a 7,200-foot-long runway. And on the month of Jumad al-Thani, 1364, corresponding to June 1945, the late King Abdulaziz ordered the establishment of a modern aero training unit and conducted an agreement with the British government to buy modern training aircrafts. 2 years later, at the beginning of Muharram 1367, corresponding to November 1947, the British training team arrived in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The team was headed by Lieutenant Colonel Hugh Black and consisted of 2 flight trainers, a ground teacher, and the chief engineer, assisted by 2 technicians. And it was decided that training would be conducted on 2 aircrafts designed for transport, and the place chosen for aerial training was the Hawiya runway. This envoy was considered the first training team to use simulation device in training. The students would always be the ones to fuel up the aircrafts themselves. And on the month of Shawwal 1368, corresponding to August 1949, the first batch of pilots, which consisted of 9 young Saudis, completed their training program successfully. On the year 1371, corresponding to 1952, an American training team began to train the Saudi officers on Tamco Bakari aircrafts in the Dahan base. During that period of time, the Air Force enjoyed a huge amount of development projects. On the 23rd of Shaban 1374, corresponding to the 16th of April 1955, the Saudi Air Force established its first integrated squadron, the 3rd Squadron, consisting of B-26 bombers. And with this, we come to see how the late King Abdulaziz, by the grace of Allah, managed to create this great edifice, the Royal